All right, now we're going to look at backup types. What types of backups are there? There are four different types of backups. One is the full, the differential, the incremental, and the disk image or copy. Now, the full backup is exactly what it says. It's the full backup of the data that you've selected to be backed up. For example, if you back up, you set to back up your documents folder, then the full backup will contain all the files in the documents folder. If you choose to back up the entire disk, well, your full backup will contain everything on the disk. All right, so that's a full backup. A differential backup is a backup that contains all of the files or only the files that have changed or were added since the last full backup. All right, so a backup would consist of a chain of full and differential backups. For example, on Monday, you do a full backup. So I want to back up, just for sake of illustration, I'm going to back up my documents folder. So I'm back that up. So my full backup will contain everything that's in that document folder. On Tuesday, I do a differential backup. The differential backup is, what did we say it was? It contains everything that has changed since the last full backup. So the differential backup will contain all the files that have changed and were added since Monday. All right, not everything, just the things that changed or were added since Monday. Wednesday's differential backup will contain everything that has changed since Monday, which includes everything that has changed on Tuesday. That's the Wednesday's differential backup. On Thursday, you're going to do another backup using a differential type, and that backup is going to contain everything that has changed since Monday or was added since Monday, which includes everything in the differential backup on Tuesday and everything in the differential backup on Wednesday. Friday, the same thing. It contains everything that was backed up, everything that have changed or was added since Monday or the full backup, which includes Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays backup. That's the differential backup. Each differential backup contains everything that has changed or was added since the last backup. The next type of backup is called an incremental backup. And this is a backup that contains only the files that have changed or were added since the last backup. Whether that backup is a full backup or another incremental backup. And let me illustrate. Monday, you do a full backup, just like we did with the differential. You do a full backup. You're always going to have a full backup, okay? And then you're going to have, on Tuesday, an incremental backup, which is going to contain everything that has changed or was added since Monday, right? But Wednesday's incremental backup will contain only the files that have been added or changed since Tuesday's backup. All right, because this was the last backup, not the full like the differential. The last backup on Wednesday, or on the Wednesday's backup, the last backup was Tuesday. Thursday will contain only the files that have changed or were added since the last backup. What was the last backup? Wednesday's backup. All right, and Friday, the same thing. Friday's backup, incremental backup, will contain only the files that have changed or were added since Thursday's, the last backup. All right, Thursday was the last backup that was done. All right, so the caveat here is that the incremental backup, each backup will contain less data. For the most part, it will contain less data than the differential, because remember, each differential backup contained everything that changed since the last full backup. Whereas the incremental, it only includes everything that changed since the last backup. So it's less stuff in each one of these backup. Okay, so that's the differential, and this is the incremental backup. So what's the difference? Incremental backup versus a differential backup. Well, a differential backup set, and let me go back, we'll call this a backup set. A backup set consists of a full backup and a chain of either differential or incremental backup. And this chain could go a month. You may do a full backup once a month. You may do a full backup once a week. All right. But that full backup plus a chain of incremental or a chain of differential backup, or it's called, that's a chain, that's a backup set. All right. So a differential backup set will typically require more storage space than an incremental backup. Because remember, each incremental, let me go back, each incremental backup has less stuff in it, all right, than the corresponding differential. It is less work for the backup software to restore from a differential backup than it would an incremental backup set. All right, because remember, let's go back to the differential. In the differential backup, remember, let's look at Friday. Friday's backup contains everything that has changed since Monday. So if I want to do a restore, what do I need to do? I just need to restore the full backup and then restore the changes. All right, so let's say I wanted to restore from Friday's backup. Well, I will restore Monday's full backup, and then I just would restore Friday's differential because it contains everything that changed since the full. I don't need these guys here, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday. So that's all my backup software has to do. Whereas if you look at an incremental backup, let's say I wanted to restore from Friday's backup, then what would I have to do? Well, not you, but the software would have to first restore the full backup. Then it has to restore the changes between Monday and Tuesday. So it has to restore Tuesday's incremental backup. Then it has to restore the changes between Tuesday and Wednesday, which means it has to get this backup, Wednesday's incremental. Then it has to restore the changes between Wednesday and Thursday. You get Thursday's incremental backup, restore from that. And then it has to restore the changes between Thursday and Friday. So it has to restore Friday's incremental backup as well. So whereas a differential backup, if I wanted to restore from my Friday's backup, all I would need, let's go back there, all I would need is the Monday's full backup and Friday's differential backup. But for an incremental backup, I need Monday's full backup, Tuesday's backup, Wednesday's backup, Thursday's backup, and Friday's backup. And remember, this chain here, this set could be much more. Let's say you do a full backup once a month, then you're going to have a whole line of these incremental backups. And to restore from a later one, you would need all the incremental backups in between, plus the full backup. The incremental backup sets, like I said, sets are more vulnerable because they're more vulnerable to like corruption and whatnot. Because look at it here, looking at this incremental backup. If I wanted to restore from Friday's backup, I would need Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's backup in addition to the full, right? But let's just say for some reason Wednesday's backup became corrupted or gone missing, whatever. It's unusable, okay? I can't back up because the backup software needs all of the changes, all these incrementals in the middle. All right, so that's why it's more susceptible, whereas the differential, you just need two. Always, you only need two. The latest differential or, the differential you want to restore from and the full backup. So it's less chance for something to get corrupted than this. There's more opportunity for corruption or stuff to go missing which I've never seen that happen, but it is possible. All right, so that's the difference between an incremental and a differential. The differential will typically take more space. You require more backup space. The incremental is less work for the backup software to, the incremental is more work for the backup software to do for restores. And of course, the incremental set is vulnerable to corruption and whatnot, right? Now, another type of backup is called the disk image or copy. And that's exactly what it is. You make a copy of your hard drive. You can take your hard drive using software and duplicate it onto another hard drive. All right? You duplicate it onto another hard drive, whether it's another blank or a hard drive in your computer installed inside your computer, or even if it's a USB attached hard drive, you're going to make a duplicate of your hard drive. So if you made a duplicate or image of your hard drive, okay, and you could take that duplicate and replace the original hard drive with it, and your system would run if it's like your operating system, right? And that's typically what you would create an image for, is to have a copy of your system disk, your C drive, the drive that has Windows and your programs. Because if something goes wrong with the hard drive in your computer, you can just take your disk image or that copy and just replace the hard disk, all right? And you'd be up and running. That's the great thing about the disk image. It really gets you up very, very quickly. However, you don't use a disk image to back up your data, because that's a lot. You know, you're copying everything, and you don't really need to do that. All right. Okay, so those are the types of backups: the full, the differential, the incremental, and our disk copy. So stay tuned for the next section, where we're going to get into actually performing the backups, things that are involved with performing the actual backup.